Parents of Reddit, what is most fucked up secret you are hiding from your children? That we're divorced. Years before they came along, spouse and I decided it wasn't working out and got divorced. Years later, things still weren't working out fantastically for both of us, so we got back together. Never did get around to getting remarried though. What are you gonna do when they fill out forms for FAFSA or other legal documents they need help with? This is a legitimate question. Lol. Edit. I know this won't affect the aid they receive, since the parents live together and the kid is dependent from both, but FAFSA asks whether or not your parents are legally divorced regardless, so my point is that the kid would find out through this process. Not really fucked up but still a big secret. I've been living 1/2 hours away from my wife and daughter for the past 11 months. Every time I talk to my daughter she asks when am I coming home? Well, little does she know that next Friday when her and her mom come for what she thinks is just a weekend visit they are actually coming to pick me up for good. My 3-year-old is an absolute miracle. Her birth mom, my wife's sister, didn't want her, basically tried for an intentional miscarriage via massive drinking and drug use. Born 10 weeks premature, she shouldn't even be alive by most medical estimations, yet here she is. Slight developmental setbacks, but she is solidly inside the bell curve. Her socialization is on point, and she should start school on time. She will know none of this until she is in her teens, most likely. I am so grateful for this impossible little person. One thing my wife and I did with our son, I'm technically his stepdad, is we have a family anniversary day every year. We made it a celebration for when our family came together. He was only 1 and doesn't remember who his runaway biodad is, but he knows it's a great thing that our family happened. Not having a biological parent doesn't have to be a secret you let out of the box when they are older. Celebrate that miracle right now. I secretly bought my son after my wife lost our own child during birth. It's quite easy in my country considering there is a lot of poor parents willing to give away their children. My wife regained consciousness after 4 days. Neither her nor my son know this. Kind of the opposite, but on my 18th birthday my father walked into my room with a bag of weed and amp, a bunch of rolling papers and showed me the entire hidden portion of our house, not on blueprints, accessed through hidden door, that he used to grow weed. I had gotten grounded for smoking weed several times by that point in my life. This was in Florida in the 90s. I'm more intrigued by the house portion of the story. How had you never noticed that something on the outside of the house never matched up to the inside? Was the secret entrance something dramatic like a bookshelf on hinges? The sheer volume of BDSM related toys hidden in our bedroom. There's also a 50/50 chance our eldest was conceived in a fetish club. Edit. Let's clear this up. I am a fetishist, more specifically a submissive and a masochist, not a swinger. Since meeting my husband we have been sexually monogamous, although I have engaged in fetish play with other people at clubs etc. There are clubs for that? I don't want my son to know that he was an unwanted accident. Even during my pregnancy, I didn't want a child. I was still so young and had my whole career ahead of me. I wanted to travel the world, finish school, and advance myself in life to the fullest. After he was born, I had a hard time adjusting and it took me a long time to fall in love with motherhood. I didn't feel a connection to my son and felt like the worst mother in the world. Now, I can't stop looking at him or hugging him or crying over him. I'm finishing school and I got promoted at my job. I can have my life and still be a mother too. I only regret my feeling of not wanting my son, because he means so much to me and there are no words to describe the deep love that I feel for him. I never actually took his nose, it stayed on his face the whole time. In fact, it has never once left his face, even though I have told him that I took it countless times. I even showed him the tip of my thumb as evidence of the theft. Sorry you had to read that, but it feels really good to come clean. Not mine, but my sister's oldest doesn't know that her younger sister, whom she loved with all her heart, was kidnapped, raped and then shot in the head. She believes that the younger one died in a car accident. That's pretty effed up according to me. I don't have kids, but here's a family secret. My mom and I left the straightener on for 2 days while we took a family trip to Canada. It doesn't have an automatic off. We haven't told my dad. I'm a surrogate parent to my 2 siblings. The most fuck secret I've had to keep is that, while both our parents are abusive, my father is the true reason why they're messed up. He's insanely sneaky and manipulative. He's cheated on my mother 4 years with other women, gaslighting her into believing she's crazy. The kids don't know because they're kids. They think our dad is an angel. We are so poor. They're little so they don't notice. But we struggle a lot to pay the rent and buy groceries. Edit commenters who grew up poor, thank you for your stories. It's nice to know that a lot of you were well into adulthood before realizing you had been poor. And I love the happy memories you have that actually were we had no money and the electricity got shut off. Edit a bit of background. We had our kids kind of young. We were both in grad school. So we're in a weird spot because we both have fancy sounding degrees that your average person would assume turned into a well-paying job. I am now a postdoc, and we are notoriously underpaid. Sometimes I think, wow, I have a PhD. You'd think I'd be smart enough to work out how to get more money, but I moved the family internationally for this job, which is another thing that would make you think we had everything sorted out. Edit offers of help. I have always had difficulty asking for accepting help, and now is no exception. Thank you for your kind offers. It means a lot. I will talk to my husband and maybe take you up on that. I have a copy of Grand Theft Auto hidden behind some books on a shelf. It's not fucked up. But my daughter doesn't know I'm an atheist. She goes to a Christian private school. Going to be an interesting conversation when she is a little older. She is starting to put it together. She just asked me the other day that why does her mom say a prayer for Jesus before bedtime and I say the Green Lantern oath instead. After reading a bunch of these, I feel pretty good that my most fucked up secret is that I eat most of their Halloween Easter parade candy when they are at school. My son was planned, but after separating from his father when my son was 8 months old and having basically nowhere to go, no way to actually take care of us on our own, many times I thought about the possibility of dropping him off at the hospital and skipping town. I never did, and he is 8 now and we are very happy. Before I found out I was pregnant with my first child, I took a shit ton of pills. I think it's the closest I've ever come to suicide. I had always dealt with anxiety and depression. I feel like the extra hormones put me over the edge. I found out about a week later that I was pregnant. Surprise. I was terrified the entire pregnancy that something would be wrong with him. Luckily, he was completely healthy and is an incredibly smart child. I've never told anyone. I feel so guilty. New throwaway for this one. That my adopted daughter was conceived as a result of a gang rape. Experts say you are supposed to give your adopted children all of their history when they are old enough, but honestly if it were me I would just rather not know. We are considering not ever telling her. It weighs heavy on our hearts. Edit, she's 15 almost 16. My wife and I each have a child from a previous marriage. Both of our ex-spouses were abusive cheaters. Both children still adore and idolize their other parent and we just keep smiling and nodding. This probably isn't the type of thing original poster was asking, but it is a secret that we will maintain for years. Pretty sure they know, but my second cousins are technically twins 2 years apart. Their parents did in vitro and 2 of the eggs were fertilized. They weren't ready for twins so they froze one of the eggs and had their second kid 2 years later. It's actually pretty cool. I am the child but my dad waited till I am grown up to tell me that my mom gave me a lot of sleeping pills when I was a little child, so she could leave me alone at home to maintain her relationship with her lover while my dad was working in another country. That cleared up many things. Not a parent but a child. This last Christmas I found out that not only was my mom had already been previously married and divorced but my dad had a kid before he married my mom. So I have a half brother or sister that I have never met. The real kicker was I found it out from my new sister-in-law who had someone did some digging, found out, assumed that I must already know and brought it up out of the blue on Christmas Eve while we were baking cookies.